Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And we're
Fear the Queer,
a podcast that talks about everything on our gay agendas, from politics and media
to race and relationships. So sit back, relax, as we spill the tea.
Fear the Queer. That was beautiful.
That was good.
I know.
Thanks. Good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Fear the Queer.
On today's episode, we will be discussing allies and all the allyship and all that good things. But Josh, before we begin, what are we drinking tonight?
We are drinking the Good Allies, which we renamed Vodka Soda, simply because...
It's always our good ally.
Cheers,
Cheers, queers! I gotta say, has never let me down.
Exactly. So when we say ally, what we're meaning is we're just going to be talking about what makes a good ally and how we perceive an ally in 2019. But before we do that, we're going to do another segment of
Read My Rainbow. In Read My Rainbow, we discuss something happening in our queer little lives, which is our rainbow, and then the other reads us for it, or gives their opinion with unqualified advice. Josh, do you want me to start first, or do you want to start first this time?
Well, you're the Leo, so go ahead, start first.
Alright, shine bright like a diamond. So, Josh kind of knows this story because he was an accomplice. Mm-hmm. But the other weekend, we went out and we needed to just go hang out, take a load off, go dancing. I've been really busy. I've been working on some projects that I just really needed to let loose. Which, by the way, thank you for painting my nails, Josh.
Yeah, no problem.
He painted them a very pretty red.
Yes, and now his nails are filed down like claws.
They're claws, so they'll scratch you. And like one of our coworkers said, that it looks like a ketchup bread. And then he said, finger looking good. But I digress. Anyways.
Jesus.
So we went out dancing and had a great night and, kikied and cuckooed and all that good stuff. And then Josh was like, sis, I need IHOP.
I did.
He did. And so I was like, okay, we'll go to IHOP. We get to IHOP. And, I'm not necessarily feeling my oots, but, I'm feeling cute with my red nail polish on.
Yeah.
And the waiter comes over. And I don't remember his name. What should we call him?
Aiden. So
Aiden comes over and is like, hi, how's it going tonight? And, we were, a little bit tipsy and a little bit sweaty from the club. And he was just being cute.
Yeah, he was just being nice, really friendly, kind of joking with us, kind of flirty.
Flirty, yeah, but I didn't realize how flirty he was being. And then Josh was like, oh my god, he's definitely hardcore flirting with you.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm feeling beautiful tonight. Clearly this waiter wants to have sex with me. As I, eat a mozzarella stick slowly.
Right.
Yeah, I could tell he was living for how I ate that appetizer sampler. So anyways, the night, keeps going on, and he's being real cute. Mm-hmm. And then I feel
he was checking up on us multiple times.
He was. And then I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, was I being cute back?
Yeah, for what you do.
Okay, so, I guess, character growth. From the last time we talked about flirting.
Yeah.
That, me not flirting with that one guy at the bar to me flirting with the IHOP waiter.
I will say, for how you flirt, yes, I was flirting.
How do I flirt?
Not much.
I feel like I kind of tease.
You kind of tease, and then you just kind of do this, okay, goodbye.
I mean, I was a little bit tipsy, and I just wanted to eat my french fries with ranch and peas. That one time he came over, and he's like, I just wanted to let you know I'm not being mean to you. And I'm like, oh, no, don't worry, I'll give you 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're you gave me the look of that was stupid.
Yeah.
He's not an Uber driver. So anyways, the night finishes, and Josh is like, oh my god, you have to give him your number. You have to give him your number. And I don't really give my number out to people.
No.
Just ever. I'll exchange Instagrams.
Which is the very millennial thing to do now.
Well, because I'm just I don't want you texting me, but like my photos.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Double tap that. Oh man, I wish you could double tap me. Anyways, so I left my number on the receipt with a little smiley face.
And what did it say?
It was just a smiley face, and I gave him a 50% tip. Kind of crazy. And then as we left,
Mm-hmm.
You turned around and you saw.
Oh, yeah. So I turned around and I was giggling because I was just like, this is crazy. Kyle never tips or...
That's not true.
I'm kidding. Kyle never leaves his number. And I looked back and the guy looked down at the receipt, kind of squinted, be like, wait, what? And then turned around and looked at us as we were walking away.
So.
But granted, I made eye contact with him, so I was kind of afraid that he thought that I was the one who wrote my number.
Oh, but I was the one paying.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think he...
Oh, yeah, he knows.
He knew it was me. I guess my rainbow is more, besides that story, a follow-up that...
Oh, you had sex?
No, he never texted me. It's been a number of days, and...
Have you been waiting by the window, just like...
I'm looking out, like, when will my IHOP waiter come back to the door? So it looks like
Where's my mozzarella sticks?
Yeah, it looks like, no IHOP waiter, so I'll have to flapjack off myself.
Ew.
Extra syrup, sis.
Ew.
So,
this podcast is now canceled. Thoughts? Okay. I think you handled it the best way you could.
So not well.
No, not well at all.
I handled it okay.
I will say you're not a good flirter. I'm sorry, you're not.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Okay, I'm not trying to defend myself, but I am.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of pressure when I have friends around. Because when I'm by myself,
I'm literally just not even looking at
you
guys.
You are reading me, and I'm nervous. And
I was eating my chicken fingers. I did not give a fuck what you were doing.
That's true.
Well, that's just in general. From what I've seen, you could tell you're nervous when you flirt.
When they're cute, I don't know what to say.
I know, you're just like, yeah.
That's literally me.
Kyle just squeals and then turns red and runs away.
I never run.
And then he's just like, I don't get why boys don't like me.
No, boys do like me. I'm like, no, don't talk to me.
Yeah. But I think that was growth. That was good.
That was character growth?
Yeah, that was the best I've ever seen you flirt.
Oh god, that's not even good.
I know.
You haven't seen me I guess you haven't seen me do well.
Now granted. We have come to a revelation lately. I don't know if we talked about this last
I don't think we have because you recently told me this.
Yeah. So we went out to the club, shocking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle was telling me about this one time, how he was by himself or something, and then I actually needed to go home early that night because I was working early the next day.
Oh yeah, I was at
we were at Berlin. Yeah,
we were at Berlin.
Yeah, at a drag show
in Boys Town.
And then I was just like, oh, I feel bad that I have to leave Kyle, and then I kind of had a revelation right then and there. It's just wait. You're fine. You're actually better on your own in the club than you are when you're with your friends.
Yeah, I text you updates of what is happening to me.
Yeah, because anytime you are alone in the bar, which is a lot. I'm just kidding. I hear these wild stories that I never would have expected you to do.
I know.
And
they're so specific.
Yeah, and so I know you're not actually lying. So... we've come to the conclusion, Kyle just needs to go off on a bar by himself, and then he'll get laid, hopefully.
Oh, God. Yeah, fingers crossed. That's what I want, some bar trade.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I can't turn that down. It's 2019. Any trade is good trade.
Yeah.
It's a fair trade agreement.
It was fair.
It was fair. So, what is your rainbow?
So my rainbow is, as you guys have been listening, I've been dating this guy for 2 months now. I really like him. I think he's so sweet. And I think about him a lot. And we talk every day. And he's basically just a 10-year older version of who I am right now. And my rainbow is, I don't know exactly if we are official or not. Because we never said it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way too chicken shit to ever ask him that. Even though I'm just saying out loud on the podcast, but
for the 10 listeners to hear,
right, exactly. But I don't know. I don't know how to ask him because I know I'm mutually exclusive to him. Mm-hmm. I feel like he pretty is much exclusive to me besides that damn dog. So it's is that official? I don't know because I've never actually had an official boyfriend who actually would be willing to call me his boyfriend out loud.
Mm-hmm. So you want him to be your boyfriend, or you feel as though you guys are boyfriends?
I feel like we are, but I'm just I don't know if I'm rushing it too quickly because the last time I said that I was boyfriends with someone, he's like, "Whoa, you're moving too fast."
Okay, here's what I think. I think that every relationship is different. I think that the guy before
can burn in hell.
Well, he's just stupid. I mean, here's the thing. If you are feeling like you guys are exclusive, chances are he also is. But never take a chance on not knowing. You should just ask him, like, in a cutesy way. Just be like...
How do you cutesily ask that?
I have had... Every relationship I've ever had, we've had that cutesy moment of being like, so we're boyfriends. And it's been cute. One time, it was over, get this, food. It was over guacamole the week before Christmas.
Okay.
And
as one does.
Well, because I was talking to my boyfriend at the time, and I said something to the effect of like, oh yeah, no, they keep asking me when they can meet my boyfriend. And he just like perked up and he's like, so we're boyfriends? And I was like, yeah, like we're boyfriends. Like, you know that we're boyfriends. It's fine. And then that was just like it. Like, I think at each moment you realize like, oh, like it can be like a cute boyfriend moment. Like maybe you're, trying to get it on and the dog keeps barking.
Yeah.
And you say something to the effect of like, man, how come my boyfriend has another man in his life or something like that? And then you see how he responds. If he's like, whoa, boyfriend, who are you?
I'm like, oh my god, I got the wrong house again.
Oh my god, not again. I knew this dick seemed different. Wow, white dick. It's a little bit pinker than usual.
6-1.
6-1, yeah. So I think, like, you can do that, which I always think is kind of cute. And, if people say that to me, I'm kind of like, oh, so we're, like, together? Like, I think my last relationship, he said something to the effect of, like, oh, no, I just love spending time with my boyfriend. And I'm just like, who is he? And then I realized it was me.
Oh,
but,
ew. That's disgusting.
No, it's not. I think it's cute. But like either you'll have that conversation or maybe he'll say it. Mm-hmm. Like he'll be like, "Oh, I'd really like to introduce you to my boy or like my friends."
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
Make sure and or maybe that's what I would say. It seems like pretty neutral, pretty easy to do. Mm-hmm. You don't have to it doesn't have to be like a big thing.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I think if you're wondering, it's okay to either ask or, slip it in conversation that way.
Okay, slip in the tongue.
I was going to say, I know you like slipping things in.
Uh-huh. All right. Fine, fair. Well, I'm hanging out with him tomorrow, so maybe we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I would just say,
we'll give you updates.
Yeah, live tweet the makeout sesh. Be like, oh my god, just said that I'm his boyfriend.
LOL.
LOL. Oh my god, he just ran to the bathroom. He's throwing up. Oh my god, I'm leaving now. Oh my god, the dog won't let me go. It'll just be like a live tweeting of your relationship, which is very millennial of you.
That's true. All right. Well, we'll try it out. All right. Cheers, Kyle. That was another successful segment of Reading My Rainbow.
Reading My Rainbow. I think we both, it's 2019. I'm trying to be more,
annoying.
Well, that's my entire life is annoying.
I'm kidding.
So, let's get to the heart of our gay agenda this episode. Mm-hmm. Being an ally. I guess in today's world, there's so many different ways that one can be an ally, whether it's being a personal ally or celebrities being allies and using their platform, whether on Instagram or movies or television or whatever it might be.
Right.
So I think the term ally gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
So to start off the conversation, in one or two sentences, what to you makes an ally?
So to sum it up in a sentence or two, now granted, I always, this is going to sound clinical, but this is just how I think. I put down that an ally is a person who upholds, defends, and is an advocate for the intersectional rights and protection of anyone who's a part of a minority community.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Thank you.
No, that's not a bad description. It is very clinical, but it's pretty on point.
Yeah. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
That's how you feel.
It's like the Chimamanda Adichie thing, like, feminist, a person who believes in the whatever,
Yeah, before she, got real problematic about trans women.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll ignore that part for this episode alone. But I'm just saying, being an ally is actually pretty simple.
Yeah, I think...
it should be.
It should be simple. For me, my idea of an ally is just someone who has the empathy to look beyond their own condition and stand beside you in your life. I feel like that's pretty general, right?
I like how mine could be like in a textbook and yours could be in a Hallmark card.
Oh, I'm very Hallmark card. Like my whole life is a Hallmark card, including I'm only worth $4.99.
Yeah, fair.
So, and I do come with an envelope. But I just think that like people try to really make scholarly ideas of what an ally is, and for both of us,
or they like they like overdo it in a way. Like they try to like prove themselves as allies. It's just like, whoa, calm the fuck down, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, when was the first time that you realized what allyship was? And this can be either like for LGBTQ rights, it can be like for women's rights, or like people standing up against racism, whatever. When was that first time for you?
I feel like there has been a major change within how the world sees things within the past 8 years. I feel like it started in like 2010 for me.
For sure.
Yeah. So it started when this is like when YouTube videos were still like really a popular thing to watch. These days, like people would vlog and you'd actually watch it.
Yeah.
Do you remember God, I have to look up his name. Do you remember the suicide of that teen boy, Tyler Clementi?
The name is not familiar to me. What?
Okay, so he was the teen who was recorded without his permission of having sex with a friend by his roommate. Tyler was closeted at the time, and the roommate, what the fuck? I don't even understand how this happened.
Yeah, I remember this.
He broadcast that webcam show to everyone who could see it, and then Tyler, figuring out about it, committed suicide afterwards.
That's heartbreaking.
It's so sad to think about, even now.
So really, I guess you noticed it because of the people coming forward to say like how fucked up that was.
Right. Seeing how many people were taking a step forward, being like, this is disgusting, this is wrong, like we need to protect gay youth.
Yeah.
And then that extended to seeing more celebrities actually speaking out about it. The first straight gay alliance thing that I've ever seen was Straight But Not Narrow. Yeah, Josh Hutcherson and Corey Monteith of Glee actually were the two who were big parts of it. And then the guy who was in the new show, Apocalypse Now, that I keep showing you about.
Oh, Ava something.
Yeah, he was actually a co-founder with Josh Hutcherson about it.
Really?
Yeah.
He's very handsome, so I'm very excited about Apocalypse Now, but that's another story.
Yeah, anyway.
So they founded this.
Yeah, so they founded it. So it's the first time I've ever seen like three straight guys being like, it's okay to be gay, and we are here to stand by you and help you and support you.
Right.
And that was really touching for me. I think that for the LGBT community, that was when I saw a good ally.
Yeah.
In terms of racial relationships, that was when Ferguson happened. And I don't even feel like I have to go into that. I feel like that's self-explanatory.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a whole nother conversation because there's so many layers to when Ferguson happened, and I feel like even before Donald Trump was our gilded turd president, There was other things that were happening in our country, like Ferguson, like even like Hurricane Katrina, that really was spotlighting racism that was still alive and still is alive. That so many people, and like we were kids, like we were. It was not for Ferguson, but like for Hurricane Katrina, we were freshmen, right, in high school, not together because you're Iowa and I'm Michigan, but different.
Yeah, I was like
schools.
in 7th grade.
What?
I was in 7th grade.
Oh shit! So I guess I'm old.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. I think for me, the first time I noticed like people being allies, or just like having that idea, because I went to Lutheran school, so I didn't even know the idea of what an ally was. Yeah. Because I myself had like stifled my own sexuality so deeply, that I didn't even know what could an ally even look like until it kind of like with the Straight But Not Narrow. Yeah. It was the No Hate campaign with everyone with their duct tape over their mouths and the no hate on their hands. And I remember there were so many Miley Cyrus did it.
I remember the Christina Aguilera one.
Christina Aguilera, Jane Lynch.
Yep.
And this is in 2009, so I was still struggling with my sexuality. I knew I was not straight, but, you know, you lie to yourself so long and you're lying to everyone else around you.
Oh, yeah, like, you just try to convince yourself. Yeah.
Right. And so I specifically remember, like, Cher and the Kardashians, because Kardashians were kind of new on the scene.
Right.
And say what you will about them. I'm not advocating, I'm not dismissing them, but I think to see celebrities who are loved by society standing up and saying, like, hey, no hate, we love these people too. And it's like the most, like, it's like the smallest thing someone can do is just be like, hey, be a decent person.
Right.
But seeing it well received made me feel a little bit more comfortable at, you know, age 18 or 19, to know, like, oh, okay, like, they're well received and society loves them. I also, you know, when I come to terms or when I deal with my own BS, will also be loved.
Right.
So just, like, seeing that there are, you know, I think that was my first intro, like, at the basic level to allyship.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I remember those ads being everywhere.
And speaking of ads, I think the number one best ally to the LGBTQ community
is an ad?
Is Hilary Duff. When she called out that girl for using gay as a derogatory term in the clothing store.
Hey, gay is not cool.
Gay is not cool.
No, saying gay.
Saying gay is not...
We just made her homophobic.
We're like, Hilary Duff, actually homophobic. That would break my little gay heart. I'd be like, no. But when she's like, hey, saying gay as in stupid is not cool. Like, how would you feel if I said, that's so gay, that girl wearing a skirt as a shirt?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then she reads her to filth.
Right.
Showing me that...
Wow, who would have thought Hilary Duff, like, started the LGBTQ rights movement?
She did. It wasn't Stonewall.
It was Hilary Duff.
It was Hilary Duff, but because she's such a good ally, she doesn't want to take credit for it. Yeah.
That's true.
I know. Like, Liz McGuire actually...
is an angel.
She's an angel.
Thank you, Hilary Duff.
Thank you, Hilary Duff, for being the best ally to the LGBTQ community that I could ever think of.
Yay!
Yay! This is what dreams are made of.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny because speaking of celebrity, I want to hear your opinion on, do you think it's a celebrity's responsibility to speak out and say something about it? Or do you think it's not necessarily that they have to do it?
That's a hard one. Okay, it's kind of like a two-parter for me, because I think that it's not necessarily a responsibility of a celebrity to come out and say, like, hey, I support LGBTQ rights, or hey, I'm against racism, or hey, I support women's rights, or whatever it may be. But I do think that it's very irresponsible of celebrities who do not use their platform to do that. Like, I don't think that, like...
I also find it very selfish, because I feel like a lot of them are choosing not to do it because it's not part of their brand.
Right.
I'm just like, that's disgusting.
Like, Beyonce doesn't necessarily have to speak out on racism, although that's, like, part of her identity. So it's kind of like she creates art to do that. But imagine if she didn't, like, say or create things that had anything to do with being anti-women or anti-race.
I don't think she would be the almighty Beyonce that we see her as now.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, she was actually someone who was actually able to take the issues of feminism and racism that she wants to speak out about and make it an integral part of her brand.
Right.
Like, when you think of Beyonce now, you think of feminists, you think of you know, like the Lemonade album.
Oh, yeah.
And she somehow has become even bigger and better in her career now.
And it's kind of cool because she's used her identity to do that. It's not like she's using someone else's identity. It's not exploiting. The only thing that she is exploiting is her own identity, which she has every right to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of like... So I guess when people... Like, when Charlottesville happened and the white supremacists were marching down there, every time, not every time, but when I would see celebrities not post about it or speaking out against Nazis or against white supremacy, honestly, it's kind of crazy in 2019 because we shouldn't be having those conversations, but we still live in a very racist, bigoted world, and that's just how the country works. So when I would see celebrities not say anything, I was just like, oh, shit.
Like, you see them on Instagram posting a selfie that day. Like, it's just like...
Yeah, they're like, outfit of the day.
Right.
And you're like, literally there were Nazis marching the streets.
Like, or even just, like, mentioning it whatsoever. I think it wouldn't be that hard as a celebrity. Just go out of your day, just say, like, all you have to say is just, like,
about it.
That's bad. You know,
that's bad. You shouldn't have to, but we do, and it's just, that's bad.
Right.
I remember, actually, speaking of celebrities and allyships, when Pulse happened, when Pulse nightclub shooting happened, it was a very hard time in my life. I had just gotten broken up with, and Pulse happened, and it was just, like, a lot of emotions happening for me.
That was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking, and I remember all the celebrities who did, you know, even just tweet out or post, like, you know, we are Pulse. We are Pulse. Whatever. Right. And I remember, and I'm not trying to go after her, but I remember Nicki Minaj not posting anything. And someone commenting on it be like, yo, Nicki, like, the gays have stand you so hard for your entire career, and you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
So it's like you would think that she's like an ally, and I'm not saying she's not an ally to the LGBTQ community, but it's moments like that where you expect someone to speak out or just make a post, and they don't. Like, just doing the bare minimum.
Right. Well, it just goes to show that it's just like, that's just like, I feel like all it does is highlight their privilege as a celebrity. Like, it doesn't affect them.
Right, and I mean, that being said, like, I don't know, maybe Nicki did eventually make a tweet or a post about it, but I remember, like, initially, it was, like, a big deal.
Right.
But I don't
feel like you should...
Years later, I don't know if it is that big of a deal, because I don't think Nicki is anymore.
That's true.
We do have Queen Cardi.
That's true.
Which, even with her own problematic statements, she has, you know, spoken out and been like, oh, I'm learning all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a big Cardi fan.
That one video she made about, like, universal health care. And Democrats were, like, even debating about, like, I want to retweet this, but she swears so much in this video.
You're like, it makes sense. Or, like, the government shutdown.
Yeah.
That's
what it was. Government shutdown, yeah.
But, like, so I'm not going after Nicki, but I'm just saying that I think, celebrities do have, especially ones that claim to be allies to certain communities.
I do think it is a little bit apart. I do think it's a little irresponsible of them not to do that.
I don't think it's their responsibility. I don't think it's their
solely their responsibility.
But it's irresponsible to not use a platform in that manner.
Exactly.
Especially when you're profiting off of people who are going to buy tickets. Like, if Ariana Grande, if Lady Gaga, if Beyonce, if, you know, any of these, like, gay, I don't want to say gay icons, but these women who clearly have a very large queer fan base did not speak out on the atrocities, I don't think that I would stand them ever. You know? Right. Like, it'd be like, you're not going to speak out for me.
Right, like you're not going to be there for us when we need you, even though we're giving you your career.
Right, and not even just us, but just, like, other things happening.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, not just the gays,
no,
but
no,
also...
But, like, anyone who's, like, a person of color, anyone who's, like a woman, you know?
Immigrants.
You
know, under this administration, there's so many...
I'm just shouting now.
Immigrants! There's so many people being attacked that it's kind of like, if you don't speak out against the hatred, your silence is violent towards community.
Right.
I saw that on a sticker on my way to the train.
Oh, really?
Well, it said white silence equals white violence.
Oh.
So
it's true.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of gets me into another idea. When does being an ally go too far? Because for me, I feel like there's people in my life and friends and family that are all wonderful. That literally just perfect little human angels. But we all know those people that maybe they take a step too far.
Yeah.
When does that happen? And how can we kind of, you know, I don't want to say stop it, or how do you talk to that person?
Right. I mean, it's tricky because obviously if someone is trying to stand up for you and try to be a good ally, like, obviously their heart's in the right place.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? And it's hard because it kind of is like, it's very gray. It all depends on the situation. I feel like the biggest misuse of being an ally is when people try to speak on our behalf.
Yes.
Or when people try to oversimplify things for the sake of trying to keep the peace.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When people use their voice and the voice is louder than the actual people experiencing the
Mm-hmm.
issue,
Right.
that's when I'm like, okay, you've gone a little bit too far.
Now, there's a difference between someone who has a larger platform to be able to speak out against
Mhm.
it. Like, let's say, like, since I'm a gay Asian,
Mhm.
and if I'm in a room full of straight men, I feel
Mhm.
like someone's probably going to listen to a straight man more than me when I'm trying to stand up for myself.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we're just, like, in a room just talking
Yeah.
about political issues, and that same straight friend is trying to stand up for me, even
Mhm.
though I clearly could easily speak for myself,
Right.
then that's different.
Right. And I think no one is necessarily everyone has a voice. No one's
Mhm.
giving a voice to people.
Right.
So in those moments, it's not like he's giving a voice to you as much as he is saying, like, and this is just for example, as much as he's saying, like, this is what Josh thinks, and because y'all keep talking so much, this is his voice. This
Right.
is what he's trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I think, like, I've had discussions with people close in my life about how either celebrities who get more airtime than the actual people experiencing, like the actual marginalized people experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
things. And they're like, well, if they support, like, the LGBTQ community, if they support racism or whatever it might be, or they don't support racism, but they, are speaking out against racism.
Right.
Gonna get us canceled, Josh.
It's like,
You're just
okay.
like, Josh is like, I knew I shouldn't have a white podcast partner. So,
Where are my people of color?
where am I? I'm so sorry. Me as an ally, I'm just so sorry.
Yeah.
Let me stand by you. What do you need? Just starts crying.
I was just like, oh.
You're like, oh, thanks, white tears. But I try to tell them that, like, hey, when a celebrity is speaking out and you associate that celebrity with, let's say, gay rights,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not gay, you're like, well, that's a bummer. But if that celebrity's like, gay rights are important, and we need to speak out against legislation. Is that how you say it? Legislation. Sorry, I went to Lutheran school. We didn't learn to speak. Speak out against legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people that you should be following. These are the, queer writers and activists. I think that's totally cool.
You know what's weird too, though, is that there's also people who are part of our own community that tend to speak out on behalf of all of us, and it's still like,
Are you thinking of Ellen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm Ellen DeGeneres. I love Ellen.
I love
for
Ellen.
a lot of reasons.
And
But
she's
with
a
the Kevin,
pioneer.
she's a pioneer.
Yeah.
She's an Oregon trailing gay.
But like when the whole Kevin Hart situation came out,
Yeah.
and she tried to
Apologize.
Well, she tried to insinuate that the whole community forgives Kevin Hart for his homophobic slurs.
Yeah.
It's just like, sis, it doesn't really work like that.
Like, Ellen, that's fine if you forgive him, because if you have a personal relationship with him, cool, cute, I don't care.
Right.
But, like, if Kevin Hart is actually an ally, and then, I mean, obviously this conversation isn't about Kevin Hart, but people like Kevin Hart, or people who may have a slip-up,
Mm-hmm.
and they come out and they apologize, I think the first thing to do is people apologizing,
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, I was really wrong, and saying, I will never do this again, and saying, I'm going to use my platform to help uphold those people.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, I'm good. Like,
Right.
that's all you gotta do. I'm not into the whole, like, cancel culture
No,
type thing.
I'm not either.
It makes me really nervous. There's only a few people that I completely cancel out, and that's people who are sexual abusers.
Right.
Or people who say, like, apologize and then don't actually change.
Yeah.
Those people, to me, are canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's a big umbrella that a lot of people might fall into.
Yeah.
But
still, I get what you're saying with that.
right, like, so...
Well, okay, so, and here's the thing, because a lot of times we're talking about celebrities.
Right.
But we do have a lot of straight people in our lives. And
Unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And it's like...
I don't need to throw shade, but...
Well, and like, how do you consider... Would you consider your straight friends your allies? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think I have gotten to a point where, and I've said this before, I cut the bullshit from my life.
Right.
So if anyone even utters something that's racist or homophobic or misogynistic, I will call them on it. And I'll be like, okay, that's not right.
Right.
And I'll have a conversation with them, like, maybe outside of a friend group so that it's not, like, I don't want them to feel attacked. But if they keep defending their problematic statement, I'm like, all right, well, it's just not going to work out for us, sis.
Right. Well, and I don't think we necessarily would even want to be friends with someone who we can't say, oh, they're going to stand up for me if I need them. You know what I mean?
Right. I think I've noticed that the people I surround myself with, especially as I've gotten older, have tended to be more queer, part of the community to begin with. So I already feel...
All his friends are just a bunch of mirrors in Kyle's home.
And guess what? I'm best friends with all of them. But I think that they're either queer or they're so a part of the community that I'm like, we're good. Right. Obviously, we might disagree on some things, but that's how friends are.
Right.
Have you... And I don't necessarily, because I just said, I don't believe in cancel culture, but there are certain people that I just can't have in my life because of the toxicness. And I've had some, like, girlfriends, some straight girlfriends that I have loved dearly, that I'm just like, oh, you're, like you've got me through a lot, especially, like, in high school. But post-high school, or moving forward, they start either dating or marry men who are problematic, who are homophobic. But the girl's like, oh, I'm still your ally, I'm still your friend. It's like, are you though? Like, how do we deal with that? Because it's like, you don't want to lose the friendship, but it's like, sis, your boyfriend is garbage. Like,
right. Well, it's almost like you almost have to purposely distance yourself to them to protect yourself.
Right.
You almost have to just be like, hey, like, I respect you, like, I have nothing against you choosing this man, but that's not going to fit into my narrative, and it's not going to fit into my picture, so because of that, I have to step away.
Well, and it's like, I kind of get that. At the same time, I also think, well, you know what, if you're choosing this person, maybe you're not that good of an ally.
That's true, too.
If you're choosing someone who is outwardly misogynistic, racist, or homophobic, or whatever it might be, you probably aren't actually... You're probably a little bit okay with it.
Well, here's the thing that I will say against that.
Okay, go ahead.
Not against it, but I will say this. Because I grew up in Iowa, like, we both grew up in a little bit of a red state, in a way.
Well, Michigan went red the last election, but I get what you're saying.
Well,
like,
I was a swing state, too.
Well, it's like more conservative, yeah.
Right. I think a lot of when people make stupid choices like that, it's not necessarily because they are okay with it. It's mostly due to the fact that they are completely ignorant to their actions. And I feel like there's a big chunk of people who can fall into that category. Like, they're not necessarily problematic on purpose.
Right. I'm not saying necessarily they're bad people.
They're right. They're just, unfortunately, not intelligent enough to realize the problems that they have.
So how do we help them? How do we help the people in our lives to be good allies? Or just to, or do you just not want to? I know you love cutting people out.
Well, that's the problem.
It's very on brand for you.
Right, I know. Well, it is a problem because it's not our responsibility to teach. Well, I struggle with it because I feel like I personally am not responsible to have to teach people, hey, this is what you're doing, this is what you're not doing wrong. But then again, how are they ever going to learn?
I think it depends on their proximity to you in your emotional life.
Right.
If you're like, this is one of my best friends, I've known them for 10 years, and I want to keep being friends with them because they bring something to my life that I know I cannot necessarily get with another person, I would bring that person over and be like, hey, you're saying things, you're doing things, you're dating people that are against who I am as a person. And see how they respond. Because if they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. That is like numero uno, the worst thing an ally could do. Right. I think the number one thing a good ally should do is just listen.
Oh, that's...
Just shut the fuck up.
That's the number one thing of being an ally, is listening. Listening to our issues, listening to our problems, listening to what we have to go through with an empathetic ear, and understand that you may not understand what we're going through, you may never will, or anything like that.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay too. But just realize that it's not about you.
It's not about you.
No.
Right. I think that's a hard thing. And I think we're all learning it because...
I mean, I'm guilty of that too, like realizing that, oh my god.
Yeah,
like,
same.
Yeah.
Like, I'm white. Like, I know, but don't apologize. It's just how it is.
Right.
But for the thing is that when
you can't even tan at the beach without getting burned.
I will never get wrinkles, so I do not have wrinkles. Say it on the record, Josh. Do I have really bad wrinkles?
No. He has a gun to my head. I can't know.
It's a squirt gun because I am anti-guns. But anyway, no. Honestly, I think that like when Black Lives Matter first came forward and was an organization, I found it very difficult to figure out where. Like, how I could be an ally to my black friends.
Right.
Or just my friends who are people of color.
Right. Yeah, because, because people don't realize that even minorities have to be allies to other minorities.
Fuck yeah.
Like, we don't fit into everyone's narrative either.
Because our identities are... Like, my identity does not match your identity and vice versa.
No.
Like, any one of my friends, we don't share an identity to the point that we're like, we're exactly the same. Whether, it's so different. And because I'm a person who likes to talk and who likes to be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get on my soapbox, it's like you have to learn to just be like, yo, shut up, read up, don't keep asking people, where can I find this information? Google's a great resource. And I'll say it once, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Google's a
great resource.
Just Google, go to websites, read books, just... It's not terribly hard. But if you're friends with someone and you still are like, I know I'm fucking up and I want to be a good ally to you, I think it's okay to be like, hey, okay, so like, how can I talk to people within my circle that maybe are racist?
Right.
And obviously I don't present those questions because that's kind of fucking stupid. But you get my gist.
Yeah,
Like I don't have people in my circle like that, but there are people who maybe they'll say something and I'm like, that doesn't fit right with me. I don't like what you just said. And so I think listening is a big part about being a good ally.
Yeah. Listening, knowing when it's your place to speak. I don't know how to explain it. It's just...
But the difference between, like, call-out culture...
Right.
...and, like, call-in... You know what I mean? Like if someone's, like, having a moment, it's like, okay, let them go off. Let this miss thing go off. And then pull them aside and be like, hey, like, I love you. Your heart's in the right place. This is how you're making me feel.
Right.
And they might get defensive.
Right.
That's part about being a good ally, is feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true.
That's being
okay with that uncomfortableness.
And learning.
And being okay that you're probably never actually going to learn that experience of that person.
You'll never be able to, I will never be able to experience what it's like to be a person of color.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And I will, and we never will experience what it's like to be a woman.
Right.
A lesbian, a transgender person,
Like, it's all very, it's all dissecting people's identities. And we're not the ones necessarily dissecting, but it's just being open to let them present in a way that they want to present.
Right.
But we're having that dialogue.
Right, exactly.
You and I are having that dialogue. Hopefully people listening will have that dialogue. Like, I hope people can hear this and be like, whoa, like, I have a really good friend who's a little problematic. And they can have those convos, over coffee or drinks or something.
Yeah.
In a good, safe, okay, cool, we can actually talk about this. Because you don't want to embarrass people.
No.
Especially when they're hurt or when, they might have said something out of step.
Right. Because, funny enough, when you say this, I think it's interesting because I think my queerness actually isn't necessarily something that I'd have to talk to my friends about necessarily. I feel like I feel like a lot of people are just more of hey, I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn.
Right.
It's actually my race that tends to be more of an issue with me and my friends.
What happens?
Well, I think that the number one issue that I have is the fact that I don't identify with Korean culture in general. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I am a Korean man, but I'm very American. And I don't identify with Korean culture whatsoever, and that's just because I didn't grow up with it.
Sure.
So because of that, I struggle even with myself of like, well, where do I stand
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like feeling comfortable with my skin, or feeling comfortable with my culture, feeling comfortable with what people can say and what people can't say about
Mm-hmm.
me. I have a lot of friends back home who I love and adore very much. And back in the day, I even would joke around with them about my skin color and the fact that I'm Korean, and the fact that I'm Asian, and I would make funny accents, and I would do things like that. I realized in today's day and age, not cool, not funny, not cute.
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean? But because of the fact that it just kind of gradually went from, oh, this is something cute and funny and something that I was even ignorant about, realizing that making fun of my own race isn't necessarily a okay thing, to now where I'm a way more educated adult. Like, how do I go back to my friends and be like, hey guys, like, this actually isn't that funny to say anymore? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that when you're young
Mm-hmm.
and you do those things, you are just trying to assimilate, and we understand that assimilation is a form of survival.
Right.
And I say this coming from like a queer person, whether it's talking about gender or my sexuality, you make jokes because
Right.
that's how you survive in those situations. And
Mhm.
until you're in a safe environment or you're able to actually interact with those people and have a dialogue and an understanding, you make jokes because that's what it is. I think that we're growing as a society
Mm-hmm.
and relearning and unlearning things that have been ingrained in us since we were born.
Right.
So, like, I think it's okay to go to those friends and, like, especially one-on-one, especially if you think that they provide something in your life that is irreplaceable.
Right.
It's okay to talk to them and say, like, I love you, and you're, like, one of my best friends. But those things kind of hurt me, and this is why they hurt me.
Right.
And if I have said anything to you that has hurt you, please let me know.
Right.
Because that's huge.
Right.
Like, I think that's huge because friends should be able to have those conversations, or friends and loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it would be kind of shocking too, where like if I made jokes with them about the exact same thing that they're saying now, and then I turn around automatically and be like, that's not funny, you can't say that.
Mhm.
It'd be confusing to them. It'd be like, whoa, you were with us in on the joke, I thought.
And you're like, well, we've learned some things.
Right, exactly. I mean,
no one wants to, it's like, everyone starts in kindergarten, but you don't always want to stay in kindergarten.
Right,
you want to
exactly.
keep learning and getting better.
Exactly.
So it's like, hey, let me get you to first, maybe second grade.
Mm-hmm.
Stop with your kindergarten jokes. We're going to get you first, second grade. It's all a learning process.
Right.
We're not demonizing you. You're not in cancel culture.
Right.
But this is how you can actually be a good ally to someone that you think is wonderful.
Right. Well, I have a question for you. What makes you the most uncomfortable? As a gay man,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things that make you the most uncomfortable? Like hearing things or certain remarks or certain...
Well, this is good and interesting. So as a gay quotations man,
Fair.
I think it's good to not assume that everyone is straight or cisgender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I identify more gender fluid, but I'm okay with any kind of pronoun.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with, like, he, I'm okay with girl being like she, I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm very male presenting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of gotten into the habit of people using gender neutral pronouns, if I'm not too sure. Which sometimes you're like, when you're on Instagram, you're like, oh look, he's so cool. They're so cool. It's
Right.
like, you're not sure. I don't know. And that's
Right.
okay.
That's actually something I'm still learning.
Yeah, it's just, and it's like, it's not like a huge deal. And I think like, gender is just a binary that has been constructed to put people into these boxes when it can be actually much more complicated and lovely than people have realized.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's something that I think, I don't want to say makes me uncomfortable. I think for me, when it comes to being white,
You even are like, white.
I think, honestly, the first time I ever noticed my whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew up in an area that, and it wasn't just like it was only white people or anything like that. Like, it was very multicultural. It's just that my experience was only within, like, white context. Like, my worldview only had white authors and actors and musicians for the most part. You know, there's obviously people who slip into those categories. But when I first graduated high school, my first job was working in an inner city school program.
Okay.
And it was like 95% people of color. Mm-hmm. And I was like the only white person. And I remember not being uncomfortable to be there because I was really excited to work with kids. Like, I love kids. It made me actually realize not that I don't want to be a teacher. So that was more of a realization. But the uncomfortableness, I think, came from having dialogues with, are you ready? Like 11 and 12-year-olds about race.
Yeah.
And about how I viewed the world and how they viewed the world. I was only 19 at the time.
Right.
So I was still struggling with my, you know, gender and sexuality and all that good stuff. But I never thought about race until they were kind of like, well, Mr. Kyle, like, you wouldn't know what that's like, you know, about whatever, like going to they're like, oh, well, I gotta go with my mom to the salon. It's going to be hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I would just be like, what?
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, well, you wouldn't know what that's like because you're white. Or, and then you start to, it makes you uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable because I'm just like, no, I want to understand. But it was more like, I need to just be quiet and just like listen. So that was the first time I felt super, like, I don't want to say like super uncomfortable, but it made me check myself and start to kind of view the world outside of the white lens.
Well, and it's funny too because there's a lot of times, especially with race, like when people are just like, you wouldn't understand this, or this is not about you. And for some reason, people get very defensive about that. Like, people are just like, that's like the White Lives Matter, or like the Blue Lives Matter, like groups. It's just like, just because we're not saying it's not about you, that doesn't mean we're attacking you. It just means that you are not going to be able to understand this completely, and you have to respect that.
Yeah, you don't show up to a breast cancer awareness run and shout, I'm here for prostate cancer.
Right.
You know?
Like prostate cancer lives matter, you know?
Which they do.
But
that's not the conversation that's being had.
Right.
Yeah, I think, especially because for white people, the world, like the U.S. and society and media and all that good stuff has been created for us. Mm-hmm. So when we're in a time that people are saying like, "Hey, no," like they're like people are speaking up and having a voice, I think the first initial reaction for a lot of white people is, "Why are you attacking me?"
Right.
Because they've never had that.
Right.
So, and like I've had that moment where it was like, I mean, this like 19 and 20 when a 12-year-old is going to call me out and just be like, well, Mr. Kyle, you don't understand that because you're white, I'm black, and that's just how it is. And I'm just like, I do understand that though because and you like want to connect, but it's like you connect more by just shutting your mouth and listening to them.
Right. And
being like, what is your experience?
Right.
I don't think that white people get to claim, like, life is hard on a lot of aspects. I don't want to even pat myself on the back. This is not about that. That's not where I'm going with this at all. It's just that it's frustrating to me. Like, I get annoyed by white people, and I find myself calling out other white people when they'll say something. I'm like, why? You know, like, and it's not like I don't want to be like a martyr complex. That's not what this is about. I mean, that's kind
of like being a good ally, though.
I guess so. Like, it's just like, that's the thing about, it's a loaded thing to consider yourself an ally. Because really at the base, being a good ally is just being a decent person.
Yeah.
it's not always like the male savior complex. Just like the white savior complex, it's
Right.
not always the male savior complex. I appreciate men stepping up and wanting to be allies, but when it comes to men, straight people, and white people, step up, be allies, but also find people that you're being an ally towards and
Right.
use them and ask. Well, don't use them, but don't use them. But
allow them
allow
stand
them
with you and let them share their experience.
Let them be the vessel for the truth that they need to say into this world.
Right. Exactly.
That might be the vodka talking, but that sounded real good, sis.
I mean, it's funny too because it's just like such a simple like idea of what an ally is has so many layers to it. I think that's really interesting.
Many layers.
And this conversation, as much as we'd love to talk for hours and hours, it's still not done. There's still so much to talk about.
This is like the bare minimum, and I think what we're trying to discuss is allyship within our own lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you feel like we could add to this bare bones topic?
No, I think that like we went there.
We did. I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. I think that like, being an ally or using the term ally is layered. So I think it's a good start to our discussion. I hope everyone listening get something out of it.
Yeah, I hope
it doesn't feel attacked.
No.
But it's okay if you do, because trust, like, sis, I once felt attacked.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we have to have those conversations.
It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to not understand what we're talking about. It's okay to not feel like
it makes sense to you.
Right,
like,
exactly.
that you understand it.
Right. I just hope that this just opens the door for you to start conversations with yourself and other people and continue this movement forward.
Right, because who we're talking to, they're not, like, anti-gay. No one listening to this podcast is going like, wow, I fucking hate them.
Right.
Like,
Maybe one.
Maybe one. It's me. It's me listening on the treadmill at the gym. I'm just like, God, I hate Kyle, but Josh makes some good points. But like, no one listening to this is anti-queer.
No.
But I think it's a good thing, and a good thing for both of us to learn how to be a better ally in this world.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. So if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns about what we discussed tonight, if you'd like to try to open up the floor to even more that we haven't covered yet, please send us information, send us your comments. You can contact us at fearthequeerpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you can bring it to the runway. You can follow us on Instagram at Fear the Queer Podcast. You can like us on Facebook at Fear the Queer Podcast.
You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, please subscribe, because your subscription, rating us, and then leaving a comment gives us more, I don't want to say publicity, but it help you're being a good ally if you do it. Because it gives us a way, thank you, it gives us a good way to be more outspoken and have more visibility.
Right, and plus we want to be able to hear what you guys think of what we're talking about.
If you think I'm absolutely atrocious, just be like, wow, Kyle's atrocious.
Canceled.
Canceled. I'm a cancel culture queen. New Halloween costume idea.
Yeah, fair. All right. Well, as always, listeners, thank you for tuning in. And I am Josh.
And I'm Kyle. And we're Fear the Queer. Bye!
I got so drunk I forgot how to end the show.
A vodka soda is not that good of an ally, I guess.